Hello, esteemed gentlemen. A man who is not moved by a woman's absence is the one she can never forget. They say time heals all wounds, but for some women, time only makes one thing clearer: the mistake they made when they walked away from a Sigma male. At first they leave with confidence, convinced that life without him will be an upgrade. But then, something strange happens. Weeks, months, or even years later, they find themselves circling back, unable to escape the pull of the very man they once hurt. Here's a fact. Psychological studies show that the brain fixates more on unfinished stories than completed ones. And no man leaves a story more unfinished than a Sigma. He doesn't beg, he doesn't chase, and he sure as hell doesn't provide a dramatic breakup scene with violins playing in the background. He just disappears, leaving behind a void that eats away at her mind like a song stuck on repeat. At first she thinks she's fine. She posts the usual new chapter selfies, convinces herself she made the right decision, and maybe even tries dating someone more conventional. But then, one day she realizes something chilling. No one she meets has the same presence, the same depth, or that quiet, unshakable confidence that made her drawn to him in the first place. And worse, he never even looked back. And that's when the panic sets in. So why do they come back? Why do women, even after hurting a Sigma, find themselves magnetized by his absence? The answer isn't just in the way he carries himself, it's in the way he doesn't react, the way he rewrites the rules of emotional warfare, and the way he turns loss into a level up rather than a setback. Let's dive deep into the 12 brutal, fascinating, and sometimes hilarious reasons why women return to Sigma males, often when it's far too late. Number 1. She wanted to tame him, but he was never a pet. Women are drawn to strong, independent men, but many of them have a secret desire to tame them. It's not always intentional, but it's there. The challenge excites them. They see a man who isn't desperate for their attention, who moves through life with an untouchable aura, and they think, wouldn't it be something if I was the one who changed him? With most men, this works. They chip away at his independence, little by little. A slight adjustment here, a small compromise there. Before long, he's texting back faster, canceling plans to accommodate her, and reshaping his world around hers. He becomes more predictable, more emotionally dependent, and ultimately less attractive. But a Sigma male, he doesn't bend, he doesn't shift his priorities, and he certainly doesn't rearrange his life just to keep a woman happy. This isn't because he's stubborn. It's because his sense of self isn't negotiable. He was this way before she arrived, and he'll be this way long after she's gone. That realization is thrilling at first. She sees it as a challenge, but then it becomes frustrating. Every trick she's used before, every tactic that worked on other men, falls flat. She expects him to react when she pulls away, but he doesn't. She expects him to prove himself when she tests his patience, but he won't. She expects his world to shake a little when she threatens to leave, but it stays exactly the same. That's when it hits her. She was never in control of this dynamic, and that's when she runs. She tells herself she needs a man who's more emotionally available, more willing to give her the validation she craves. But the moment she leaves, a second realization creeps in. There's no satisfaction in taming a man who was never meant to be caged. The thrill wasn't in having him, it was in trying to change him. That's why she comes back. Not because she misses him, though she does, but because she needs to know, was she ever truly special to him? Or was she just another moment in his life, passing like everything else he refuses to cling to? That answer, whether she gets it or not, is what keeps her restless. Number 2, she realizes she was the dispensable one, not him. Women leave relationships all the time believing they hold the power. Society has conditioned them to think that men will always suffer more, that he'll crumble without her, or that he'll be haunted by what he lost. And with most men this is true. They sulk, they beg, they post cryptic quotes about heartbreak, and they drown in nostalgia. But a Sigma male, he doesn't play that game. When a woman walks away from a Sigma, he doesn't react, not in the way she expects. There's no desperate attempt to pull her back, no late-night texts asking for closure, no visible signs of devastation. Instead, he does what he's always done. He focuses on himself. He gets sharper, smarter, stronger. His mind isn't occupied with what was, but with what will be. He was already a man on a mission before she came along, and her absence doesn't change that. At first she convinces herself he's just acting tough. Maybe he's hiding his pain. Maybe he'll break down eventually. But as time passes, reality slaps her. He isn't just surviving without her. He's thriving. He's not looking back. He's not stuck in the past. In fact, it's as if she never mattered as much as she thought she did. And that's when the real pain begins. Not his pain, but hers. Women don't just want to be loved. They want to be irreplaceable. They want to leave a mark so deep that a man never fully recovers. But a Sigma never gives them that satisfaction. He doesn't dwell. He doesn't carry emotional baggage. He doesn't hold on to the idea that one woman was his only shot at happiness. The truth is, she was never the center of his universe. She was just passing through it. That realization shatters her. She thought he was the dispensable one, that he'd be the one left longing. But the truth is far colder. She was never as important to him as she believed. And once that reality sinks in, regret hits like a storm. By the time she realizes it, though, he's already moved on to bigger, better, and more meaningful things. Number 3. She thought he'd be easy to forget. He wasn't. When a woman leaves a Sigma male, she often assumes he'll fade from her mind like every other guy she's dated. She expects time to blur the memories, for new experiences to replace old ones, and for someone else to eventually take his place. At first, she feels free. The breakup feels like a clean break, no drama, no messy emotions, just a quiet ending. And since he didn't fight for her, didn't plead, didn't make her feel like she was losing something irreplaceable, she assumes he was just another chapter in her book, not the whole story. But then something strange happens. Time passes, and instead of disappearing from her mind, he lingers. Unlike other men, he didn't flood her with emotional texts. He didn't crumble. He didn't try to win her back. He simply existed, somewhere out there, unbothered, living his life. And that realization starts eating away at her. She tries moving on, dating someone new. At first, it's exciting until she notices something missing. There's no depth, no mystery, no quiet strength, like what the Sigma carried so effortlessly. Other men follow predictable patterns, but the Sigma, he was different. He didn't seek approval. He wasn't easily swayed. His presence was powerful without being loud. And suddenly, she realizes, she never fully figured him out. The memories start creeping in at unexpected moments. A conversation reminds her of his wit. A quiet night alone makes her miss the way he never needed to fill the silence with empty words. She catches herself comparing, measuring, and always finding something lacking in every man who came after him. She thought time would erase him, but instead, it only sharpened his presence. The more she tries to forget, the more she remembers. And now, she's left with a haunting truth. He wasn't just another guy. He was the one who left a mark, not because he tried, but because he didn't have to. And that realization, whether she admits it or not, is what keeps pulling her back. Number 4, he becomes more successful without her. When most men go through a breakup, they spiral. They drink too much, slack off at work, and waste time overanalyzing what went wrong. They stalk her social media, hoping for signs she misses them. They drown in self-pity. But a Sigma male? He does the exact opposite. For him, a breakup isn't a tragedy. It's a trigger. It's an opportunity to sharpen his focus, to level up in ways he hadn't even planned. If anything, heartbreak fuels him. The pain isn't something he wallows in, it's something he converts into raw energy. He doesn't waste time stalking her online or wondering who she's with. He's too busy building. So while she assumes he's somewhere suffering, he's out there evolving. He starts working harder, pushing himself beyond old limits. He becomes more disciplined, more financially sharp, more physically strong. He's reading more, learning more, elevating in every way. And the best part? He's doing it without her. At first she doesn't notice. She's caught up in the post-breakup high, enjoying the illusion of freedom. Maybe she even entertains someone new. But then, one day, she stumbles across a glimpse of him. Maybe through social media, maybe through a mutual friend. And what she sees shakes her. He's not just doing fine, He's thriving. His confidence is on another level, his lifestyle has improved, and worst of all, he looks completely unaffected. No sad posts, no bitter quotes, no desperate attempts to win her back. It's as if she never mattered. That's when the regret kicks in. Because deep down, she expected him to suffer. She thought he'd break, that he'd lose himself without her. But instead he became something greater, something that now feels completely out of her reach. And nothing is more painful than realizing you left someone behind, only to watch them become the version of themselves you always wished they would be. Except now, it's without you. Now she's forced to ask herself a brutal question. Did I walk away from a man who was always destined to win? And worse, did I just lose my only chance to be part of that victory? Number 5. She was never in control to begin with. Women are used to holding a certain power in relationships. They've been conditioned to believe that men will always want them more, that men will always be the ones chasing, proving their worth, and trying to win them back after a breakup. And with most men, that's exactly how it plays out. She pulls away and he scrambles to fix things. She leaves and he begs her to stay. She ends things and he falls apart, desperate for another chance. But a Sigma male? He doesn't play that game. She walks away expecting some kind of reaction, a frantic text, a late-night call, an emotional confession, something to reassure her that she had him wrapped around her finger. But instead, she's met with cold, impenetrable silence. No reaction, no fight, no sign that she was ever as important as she thought she was. At first, she assumes he's just playing tough. Maybe he's pretending not to care. Maybe he's secretly crushed. So she waits. Days turn into weeks. Still nothing. The realization starts creeping in, slow but undeniable. She was never in control of this dynamic to begin with. And that realization does two things. It terrifies her and it fascinates her. Because for the first time she's met a man she can't manipulate with absence. A man who doesn't crumble when she pulls away. A man who doesn't need her validation to feel whole. She thought she was the one with the upper hand, but now she sees the truth. He was always the one dictating the pace. Now she starts questioning everything. Did he ever truly need her, or was she just another experience in his ever-evolving life? Did he ever even love her, or was she just another piece of a much larger puzzle he was already solving? The more she thinks about it, the more it drives her insane. And that's why she comes back, not just for him, but for answers. Because there's nothing more addictive than an unsolved mystery, and the Sigma? He is the one man she'll never fully figure out. Number 6. Her replacement isn't another woman, it's his purpose. Most men, after a breakup, do one of two things. They either chase another woman to fill the void or drown themselves in distractions to numb the pain. They swipe through dating apps, hit the bars, or dive into meaningless flings, all in an attempt to prove, to themselves and to their ex, that they've moved on. But a Sigma male? He doesn't follow that script. When a woman leaves him, he doesn't rush to replace her with another. He doesn't waste energy looking for comfort in someone else's arms. Instead, he replaces her with something far more powerful, his purpose. This is what rattles her to the core. She expected him to grieve, to struggle, to go through the usual cycle of post-breakup regret. But instead, he disappears into his world of ambition. He doubles down on his goals, refining his skills, sharpening his mind, building his empire, whatever that may be. And the most unsettling part, he looks more alive without her than he ever did with her. At first she tells herself it's just a phase. Maybe he's distracting himself, maybe he's suppressing the pain. But then she realizes this isn't an act. This is who he was all along. She was never the center of his world. She was never the thing that defined his happiness. She was a moment in his life, not the mission of his life. And that realization stings, because deep down, women don't just want love, they want to feel essential. They want to believe they're irreplaceable. But the Sigma never gives them that illusion. He moves forward, unaffected, because he was never dependent on her presence to begin with. She was a part of his journey, not the destination. That's when the regret kicks in, because while other men fall apart, the Sigma rises. While others look for another woman to fill the space, he makes that space his own. And when she sees him thriving, not with someone new, but with something bigger, she realizes she wasn't as important as she once believed. And that's exactly when she starts wanting him back. Number 7. Her new, better option didn't measure up. When a woman leaves a Sigma male, it's often because she thinks she's upgrading. Maybe she believes she's found someone more emotionally available, someone who fits into her world more neatly, or someone who won't make her question where she stands. At first, it feels like a victory. The new guy showers her with attention, gives her the validation the Sigma never did, and seems like everything she thought she wanted. But then, reality starts setting in. At first, it's small things. Conversations feel predictable. He agrees too easily, laughs at all the right times, and never challenges her in a way that sparks real chemistry. He's always available, always eager, always playing it safe. What seemed like a dream at first starts feeling dull. The effortless mystery, the quiet strength, the sense of adventure she felt with the Sigma, it's missing. Then the comparisons start. The new guy may be nice, but he doesn't command a room the way the Sigma did. He doesn't carry that same quiet intensity that made her pulse quicken. He doesn't have that unshakable confidence, that ability to be completely content in his own company. He's just another guy, and that's when the regret creeps in. Because whether she admits it or not, the Sigma wasn't just different. He was rare. His depth, his intelligence, his presence, it wasn't something she could just replace. And now she's stuck with someone who feels like every other man she's ever dated, realizing she mistook predictability for security. That's when she starts looking back. She wonders if the Sigma ever thinks about her. She checks his social media, hoping to see signs that he misses her too. But all she finds is a man completely unbothered, still thriving, still moving forward as if she never left a mark on him at all. And that's when she realizes the brutal truth. She thought she was choosing better, but all she really did was choose easier. And the cost of that choice? Losing the one man who never needed her, but who, deep down, she still desperately wants. Number 8. The ego trip ends, reality hits. When a woman leaves a Sigma male, it often starts with an ego trip. She convinces herself she's making the right move, that she deserves more, that she'll be happier without him, that there's something better waiting just around the corner. Maybe she even tells herself that he was lucky to have her, that he'll struggle to replace her, and that she's the one calling the shots. At first, it feels liberating. She gets attention, validation, and the illusion of freedom. She posts the usual new beginnings pictures, maybe even flaunts a new guy, trying to convince herself and everyone watching that she's thriving. But then, something happens that she never expected. Reality hits. The excitement fades, the attention from others starts feeling shallow, and life moves on without the dramatic shift she imagined. The new guy? Predictable, unchallenging, maybe even a little too available. The single life? Not as thrilling as she thought. And the worst part? The Sigma never chased after her. She assumed he'd come running, that he'd fight for her, try to prove his worth, or at least show some signs of struggle. But he didn't. He kept moving, unbothered, as if her absence barely registered, and that's when the regret starts creeping in. Because now she's forced to see the truth. She wasn't the prize. The Sigma wasn't with her out of desperation, loneliness, or dependency. He was with her because he chose to be, and the moment she removed herself from his life, he simply adjusted and continued on his path. She thought he needed her. Now she sees he never did. That's when she starts looking back, replaying every moment, wondering if she miscalculated. She went from thinking she had all the power to realizing she was just a fleeting part of his journey. And nothing bruises the ego more than recognizing you left a man who never once viewed you as the center of his world. Now, she wants back in. But the problem? The Sigma doesn't look back. And that, more than anything, is what makes her regret leaving in the first place. Number 9, his independence is like an unfinished story. Women crave closure. They want the final conversation, the emotional unpacking, the neatly wrapped ending that lets them walk away feeling validated. They need to understand why things ended, why he didn't fight for them, why he didn't react the way most men would. But a Sigma male? He leaves them with nothing. There's no dramatic goodbye, no long-winded explanation, no desperate attempt to justify himself. He simply lets go and moves on as if the relationship was just another chapter in his life, one that didn't require a conclusion, and that drives her insane. At first, she tells herself she doesn't need closure. She tries to move on like it doesn't matter, but as time passes, questions start piling up in her mind. Did he ever really care? Was I just another temporary experience for him? Was I even as important to him as I thought? She replays every moment, searching for answers that were never given. And the more she searches, the more unsettled she becomes. The problem is, the human mind hates unfinished stories. When something doesn't have a clear ending, it lingers. It gnaws at the back of the brain, demanding resolution. That's why people obsess over unsolved mysteries, why cliffhangers keep audiences hooked, and why she can't stop thinking about him. Every other man she's been with has given her closure in one way or another, either through begging, apologizing, or showing visible pain. But the Sigma? He did none of that. He didn't even seem fazed. And now she's left chasing a ghost, trying to extract meaning from silence. That's why she comes back. Not always because she wants him, but because she needs to know, was she just another moment in his life, or did she actually matter? The irony? She'll never get the answer she's looking for, because a Sigma male doesn't explain himself. And that, more than anything, is what keeps her hooked long after he's gone. Number 10. She sees other women admiring him. From a distance. At first, when a woman leaves a Sigma male, she assumes he'll fade into the background. She thinks he'll be just another guy she once dated, one she can easily forget. But a Sigma doesn't fade. He stands out. And the moment she notices that other women are paying attention to him, something shifts inside her. She sees it in the way women glance at him when he walks into a room, the way they lean in when he speaks, the way they admire him from a distance. Unlike most men, he's not trying to be noticed. He's not playing the social game, seeking approval, or broadcasting his worth. He simply is. And that effortless confidence is magnetic. The realization hits her like a punch to the gut. He was never invisible. She just stopped looking. And now other women see exactly what she once saw. His quiet dominance, his unshakable self-assurance, the way he moves through life without needing validation. He's not chasing, he's not seeking, but somehow they're all gravitating toward him. She starts wondering, was I too quick to leave? Did I underestimate what I had? Because now it's clear. He was always valuable. She just assumed he'd always be there, unnoticed and waiting. But now, watching other women admire him, she feels something unexpected, jealousy. It's not just about attraction, it's about status. In her mind, she had the advantage when she left. She believed she had control. But now, watching other women drawn to him, she realizes the brutal truth. He was never the one being evaluated. She was. And now she's just another woman who let something rare slip away. And that's when she starts wanting him back, not because he changed, but because she finally sees what she lost. The problem? Now he has options. And the one thing a Sigma never does, settle for someone who only wants him when she sees others do the same. Number 11. He never begged, so she never got satisfaction. When most women leave a man, they expect a reaction, something to confirm their importance. Maybe he'll plead, maybe he'll cry, maybe he'll try to prove his worth in some grand display of emotion. That reaction is what gives her closure, the final validation that she mattered more than he could handle losing. But a Sigma male? He doesn't give her that satisfaction. He doesn't argue, doesn't plead, doesn't even try to explain himself. He simply accepts it. And that is what haunts her. Because when a man doesn't fight for her, it leaves a question she can't shake. Was I ever that important to him at all? At first, she convinces herself that he's just suppressing his emotions, that maybe he's hurting in silence. But as time passes and he remains just as unbothered, just as steady, just as himself, she starts to wonder. Because every other guy she's left has reacted, whether in anger, sadness, or desperation. But the Sigma? He treated her departure like just another event in his life, not the event. And that void, that lack of reaction, does something dangerous. It keeps her thinking about him. Instead of moving on with confidence, she finds herself checking his social media, asking mutual friends about him, replaying their last conversations, looking for signs that maybe, just maybe, he's struggling. But he's not. That's when the regret sets in. Because leaving was supposed to make her feel powerful. Instead, it left her feeling incomplete. She never got the emotional resolution she expected, never got to feel like she won, and now, instead of being the one who moved on, she's stuck with an open-ended question she can't answer. Did I lose him, or did he just let me go? And that question alone is enough to make her want him back. But by the time she realizes it, it's already too late. Because a Sigma, he never waits for someone who wanted to test his absence just to measure his worth. A Sigma male never asks for a woman to stay, nor does he chase after the ones who leave. He doesn't operate on emotional games, validation-seeking, or the desperate need to prove his worth. Instead, he embodies a quiet, unshakable truth. He is whole with or without her, and that truth is what haunts her the most. Because at first, she believes leaving him was her choice. But over time, she realizes the real choice was never hers, it was his. He never needed her to complete him. He never built his world around her. And the moment she walked away, he simply adjusted, evolved, and continued thriving as if her presence was a moment, not a milestone. That's what brings her back. Not just regret, not just nostalgia, but the painful realization that he was never hers to begin with. She was a part of his journey, but she was never his destination. And the hardest truth of all, by the time she figures that out, he's already too far ahead to turn back. If this hit home, if you found yourself glued to every word, then don't just leave, be part of the movement. Hit that subscribe button and join a community that sees through the illusions and values the raw, unfiltered truth. Like this video if you know the power of the Sigma mindset. Drop a comment below. Have you ever experienced this? Have you seen it happen? Let's hear your thoughts. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, share it with them. This channel isn't just about content. It's about shifting mindsets. So stick around because we're just getting started.